Welcome to our SMA International News for the month of April. In this edition we have stories from Liberia, where we join the annual pilgrimage in Sasstown, Betu, which commemorates the foundation of the church there. In Tanzania, we see the early stages of a community laying the foundations of a new church. In Zambia, we see the recent landmark achievement of the Media Center in Ndola. So first we go to Liberia. In Sasstown, Betu, which is known as the cradle of Catholicism in Liberia, in March each year, a pilgrimage is held there, which leads large crowds of people through Sasstown, and then they cross the lagoon in canoes to Betu. Father Faulkner O'Driscoll, SMA, now brings us the story of their journey, which also includes a visit to the graves of 3 Irish missionaries buried there.
A number of attempts during the 19th century to establish the Catholic Church in Liberia were unsuccessful, mainly due to the hostility of the ruling elite of the freed slaves, who were primarily Methodist and Baptist. The SMA was asked by Propaganda Fide to make a fresh attempt. After some time, SMA were advised to concentrate efforts along the Crewe coast, rather than around the capital Monrovia. In 1911, the church was successful in implanting at Betu on the coast. Soon it was spread to Sasstown, and in time to other towns in the Grand Crewe County and southeast Liberia. Sasstown Betu is thus known as the cradle of Catholicism in Liberia. In 2017, the bishop decided to honour the memory of these missionaries by organising a pilgrimage of the whole diocese to Sasstown Betu. This year was the 7th edition, with several hundred people participating. It all began in front of the graves of the 3 missionaries.
We started this pilgrimage, as you mentioned, 7 years ago. In 2017, the weekend of the first week of Lent. It has been a practice since then. The motivation behind it is, first of all, for us to retrace the steps of the early missionaries. But it was here in Betu and Sasstown that the early SMA fathers succeeded in planting the seeds of the faith of Catholicism in Liberia. So we'll come here every year since 2017 to retrace their steps, to honor their sacrifice and their memory. I had no knowledge that Father Dennis O'Hara, who died here over 100 years ago, would have a nephew working as a priest in the United States. And we spoke, and he was delighted to know that the grave of his deceased uncle who served as a bishop can be identified. And he asked me if I can send me a picture of the grave, which was not in good condition at the time. And so, after some time, we were able to do some work to, improve the condition of the grave. And we sent him a photo of the grave. And he put up a donation which he sent to Catholic World Mission, and they added to it and sent to us, which we're able to use to start to build this sanctuary over the old church, and also to improve the grave and to get 3 canoes which have been assisting us to cross into Betu for pilgrimage every year.
Well, we are here today on the 2nd day of the pilgrimage to Sasstown Betu, and we're on our way across the water to Betu with Bishop Andrew Carnley again, the Bishop of the Diocese of Cape Palmas. So I just want to ask Bishop Carnley, what is the significance of the mission at Betu for the church in Liberia?
The mission in Betu is very significant for the church in Liberia because it is here in Betu that the SMA fathers succeeded in planting the seeds of Catholicism. They were not successful in Monrovia and Keku between 1906 and 1910. It was difficult. So they were advised to move down the coast. So they moved here to Betu in 1911, and this was the very first mission here that was established by the SMA fathers. And from Betu now, then they moved on to Sasstown that we have just left. And from there, other missions were established, Ground Cape Palmas, Then in 1921, then they moved to Monrovia, yeah, and established there. And of course, I mean, so they were well established along the coast. Then from there, they tried to move up country into the hinterland.
So this pilgrimage that we had, it was a sacred journey for our youth to have such experience for their personal transformation, for their spiritual growth. It is also a time of unity that gathered all the youths of this diocese of Cape Palmas to come together to share their experience of life, to share their joy, to share their happiness. It is also a time for the youths to discover themselves and to contemplate their life. That's why this pilgrimage is very, very important for our youth.
The pilgrimage is held over 3 days, so people are accommodated at St. Paul's School and with parishioners.
Of course, the parish is always happy to receive people from all over the diocese for this program of the pilgrimage, and they are very kind people, open. They are people that always like to receive strangers, and they always cooperate with us, and a lot of things have been done through them. So we thank them in a very special way, and we thank also the diocese that had chosen this parish as the site of their pilgrimage.
And next we go to Tanzania. Building a church is an extraordinary project for any parish, but in the Diocese of Shinyanga, the town of Bugisi in Tanzania is laying the foundations for a very fine church with the assistance of the parishioners.
I am Father Ephraim Joseph Kwai, SMA, a parish priest at Mary Mother of God, Catholic Parish, Bugisi. Bugis Parish is located in Shinyanga Diocese, outside the town. Bugis has a population of around 3,000 people in the main parish. Also, she has 32 outstations in total. In this parish, we are two, myself, Father Ephraim, and Father Mariel.
I'm James Chalo, Chairman of the Parish Council at BC, Shinyanga Diocese. Our parish is growing due to the SGR standard gauge railway passing next to our gate. Our church has become too small due to high population.
I'm standing at the site where we are constructing the new church. We have already laid the foundation. Presently, we are putting sand, so that by the time we finish putting the sand, we hope to lay the slab. Every weekend, we call our Christians who voluntarily come and help in distributing the sand. People have already shown the interest, and gradually we are building this church. These are some of my parishioners who have come to voluntarily do the work so that the construction of the church will go on. They offer their labor in order to reduce the cost, because it will cost a lot to pay constructors to do all this. So these are just the voluntary workers from the parish, our own Christians.
And now we go to Zambia, where Father Tom Casey SMA has been running the media centre in Dola, which is supported by the SMA for the last 23 years. Over those years, he has been involved in media education and media production in radio and TV, and has also been live streaming masses and other events. He has recently completed a 3-year cycle of homilies in spite of the fact that during that same period he contracted COVID and suffered a slight stroke. In this story from Zambia, we see the extent of the achievement.
On the 20th of November 2022, the SMA Media Centre in Ndola in Zambia reached a milestone in that for 3 years we have produced a Sunday sermon in both Ichibemba, which is the local language, and in English for the greater, wider world and for the local world here in Zambia. That means 156 programs in English, 156 programs in Chibemba have gone out over the waves for 3 years without any break. Unfortunately, my member translator, Mr. Angel Masha, died last year just before Christmas. May his soul rest in peace. It would have been a delight to have him here celebrating this milestone in our history of radio and video productions. Looking back over the 3 years, we had many challenges. The biggest one being the COVID-19 pandemic. In one way, it was a moment of discovery for us in that there was a great need for the Mass to be transmitted live to the people around the world. This was a fairly successful venture, except that the strength of our internet here in Zambia was very poor. Because of the poor internet, we began producing the Mass, which was then pre-recorded and then transmitted as a YouTube video at weekends after editing at the studio. This involved quite a lot of extra work. We managed, though, to get local choirs which gave our masses a Zambian flavour. In the meantime, there were radio programs on the Sunday sermon being transmitted by 11 local radio stations throughout Zambia in English, and in areas where Chibemba is the spoken language, the sermons were done in that language. Because our listenership is varied from being international to being local, we therefore need different scripts, although to all intents and purposes the message is the same. During the Advent and Lent seasons, we produced in the local radios programs for every day of those seasons. It has been a task, but I might say, with the risk of sounding proud, it was a labour of love. I simply loved doing what I was doing, and those in the studio with me gave me great support and their expertise as well.
Thanks to all the people who appreciated and gave me encouragement over the last 3 years. It really has given me a great sense of ministry in my priesthood.
So these have been the challenges, and yes, for 3 years, no Sunday has been missed. We've reached out, and God has helped us to continue the pattern on the Sunday sermon, both on radio and on the internet. And even though we now have an archive of 3 years of sermons, we still need to tweak and make sure what is being sent out is in accordance with the readings and with the seasons of the church year. There is need for vigilance. Our media centre is small, but it has reached out. We are open to change, and we pray that we can move with the times and be a significant voice in an ever-changing world out there.
And now for some general news. Father Francois de Paul Hongwe and Father Christophe Pachut were on a visit to the district of Zambia from March the 8th until the 25th. And so that brings us to the end of our SMA International News for this month. We hope to be with you and that you will join us next month when we will have further news and information about SMA mission.